Welcome back to a deep dive. Today, we're really getting into it, unpacking the Canadian Grand Prix aftermath. We've got a whole stack of analysis and commentary you've shared, and we're going to try and make sense of it all.
That's right. We've been digging through all the reports, the blogs, expert takes, basically everything covering the race weekend. You know, the incidents, how the teams did, what the drivers were saying.
Yeah, and our mission, as always, is to guide you through this stuff.
Yeah.
Pull out the really key bits, the moments that make you go, aha. Maybe some surprising angles, too.
So you get the full picture quickly without wading through everything yourself.
Exactly. Let's get started. It was quite a weekend in Montreal.
It really was. Chaotic is probably the word.
Okay, so maybe let's start somewhere a bit unusual. Not the race itself, but what happened after the flag. The reports really highlighted this strange situation with loads of drivers suddenly under investigation.
Yeah, that was quite something. It all centered around the safety car procedures. Apparently, the safety car period was still technically active even after the drivers crossed the finish line.
Which sounds weird, right? You cross the line, race over.
Well, exactly. That's what everyone assumes. And the commentary suggests that loads of drivers just, relaxed by instinct, maybe didn't fully clock that the safety car rules, like not overtaking, were still technically in force.
And it wasn't just one or two. The list was huge. Russell, Piastri, Antonelli, Leclerc, Ocon, Sainz, Gasly, Stroll.
Yeah, nearly half the field, basically. But the interesting thing, looking at the analysis, is how it played out. Mostly just warnings.
So they kind of got away with it.
It seems like it, yeah. The stewards seem to have acknowledged it was an odd situation, the safety car staying out past the finish. That was seen as a mitigating factor, it seems.
Huh. I saw one report mentioned Alonso maybe hinting post-race that positions could change.
Yeah.
Sort of classic Alonso, knowing the rules inside out.
Oh, for sure. He definitely knew drivers had probably broken that rule, and you can bet he was hoping maybe it'd shuffle things up a bit in his favor.
But it didn't in the end.
Huh. No. The reports are clear. His comments didn't sway the stewards. What they did do, though, was issue a pretty stern warning, like, okay, leniency this time because it was weird, but don't do it again.
Right. Future infringements, expect proper penalties, consider this the one free pass.
Exactly. The analysis also mentioned a couple of team protests that fizzled out. Red Bull against Russell, dismissed. Williams asking for something against Ocon, also dismissed.
But no real drama from those?
Nope. The only actual time penalty mentioned across the sources that might have mattered. Well, it was Lando Norris's 5-second penalty.
Yeah. Which ended up being totally irrelevant because...
Right.
Well, he didn't finish.
Precisely. And that leads us neatly into probably the biggest single talking point of the whole weekend, the Mclaren teammates.
Oh boy. Yes. That collision between Norris and Piastri. The sources really dug into this one.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just like a sudden thing. The reports talk about this tense buildup, Piastri defending really well for quite a few laps.
Yeah, keeping Norris behind him, making him work for it.
Right. They had that side-by-side moment earlier, too. Piastri was doing a fantastic job, really holding firm.
But then it all went wrong in that final chicane. The commentary seems pretty clear-cut on this, describing Norris's move as a poor strategic calculation. Maybe precipitation was another word to use.
Yeah, basically saying he rushed it, tried to force an opening that just wasn't there, made contact with his teammate.
And bang, into the wall. Race over for Lando.
And critically, the reports say Norris held his hands up straight away, took the blame, admitted it was his fault.
Yeah, I saw some analysis comparing it to Hamilton and Rosberg back in Spain, 2016. That first lap tangle where Hamilton went for a closing gap. Similar kind of costly misjudgment, maybe?
It feels a bit like that, doesn't it? That pressure teammate battle.
Well, yeah. And of course, this throws McLaren's whole approach into the spotlight, what people call the papaya rules.
Right. Which, from what we've read, basically means McLaren lets their guys race. Hard. Wheel to wheel. And most commentary seems to really applaud that, saying it's good for F1, especially when some worry the sport gets a bit too controlled, maybe even boring sometimes.
Yeah, they contrasted it with how Ferrari used to operate sometimes. Maybe only letting them fight if one driver was miles behind or something.
Letting them race is one thing. But the golden rule, the unspoken part of those papaya rules, is crystal clear. You race, but you have to bring the cars home, both of them, safely.
And that's the bit Norris failed on this time.
Unfortunately, yes. And the consequences? Massive. Norris gets 0 points. Piastri manages to salvage 4th place. Good points for the team, but still.
That's a huge swing just from one incident. What did the report say? Like a 22-point difference between them just from that race?
Yeah, exactly that. A massive swing.
Yeah.
Which inevitably leads to the big question the commentary was asking. Has this shaken McLaren's faith? Will they keep letting them race this freely?
You saw mentions of Andrea Stella and Zach Brown, right? And the idea that maybe, just maybe, they might have to step in with a racer stop call sometimes now.
It's the team principal's nightmare, isn't it? You love the fight, the spirit, but you desperately need those constructors' points. A double DNF is just unthinkable.
Tricky balance. Okay, so moving away from the crash itself, the analysis also talked about McLaren's overall weekend performance, generally described as a bit flat, off color, I think one report said.
Yeah, desdibujado was the Spanish term used in one piece, meaning sort of faded or out of focus, which was surprising, especially as they'd brought upgrades.
Their pace just wasn't really there compared to, say, Mercedes. That seemed to surprise a lot of people, even other drivers, according to the commentary.
Definitely. The analysis touched on possible reasons, maybe just the track characteristics in Montreal, or, interestingly, the heat. It was really hot, track temp over 50